Good morning, everyone. It's been really good this morning to hear all the positive stories and the positive opportunities that are out there. And what I hope I can bring to you this morning in terms of our local plan is how we can build upon that in terms of how we plan for development going forward. And those positive stories, I think, come to the fore in terms of how we are informing us as a council with your input, how we can shape things going forward in the local plan. So, there we go. First of all, what is a local plan? I appreciate not everyone is a planner and not everyone knows what one is. So ultimately, it's about setting the vision for how we want the borough to develop over the next 15 to 30 years. Now, I appreciate that maybe for a lot of businesses, that's a long-term aspect and too long-term for some businesses. But obviously, implicit within that is within that 15 to 30 years, there's a much shorter timescale we have to plan for as well. And so it's all covered in there, and we need that input from yourselves. At its core, it's about allocating land and setting planning policies to guide how and where new development should take place. So that can be planning for housing, for businesses, for retail, for infrastructure, for services, all those kind of things. But we need, it's not just about land. Yes, at its nub, I say, it is about setting aside land, setting the policies to guide those proposals. But we need to understand, such as example Michelle was talking about before, the skills gap that's going to come along, or the age gap, as people retire. How do we make West Lancashire, how do we make Skelmersdale, Ormskirk, Bursker, all the different villages of West Lancashire, an attractive place for people who want to come and work and to live? Because if we can't make that, then how are we going to fill that skills gap and the employee gap? So that's really what the local plan is about. Why are we doing it now? Well, first of all, there's always new evidence emerging and new opportunities that we need to take account of. So whether it's new evidence that guides us on how much housing we're required to provide, or whether it's new opportunities like the Port of Liverpool expansion with the new container terminal that presents a great opportunity potentially for somewhere like West Lancashire to think, how can we tap into that and attract new businesses to the area. National policy is constantly evolving. It happens in all sectors. I'm sure Roy will say that about Edge Hill as well, in the university sector, education sector. It's always evolving, and we have to keep up to date, because if we don't, then we don't have as much power and control on the planning decisions. So the local plan needs to be kept up to date for that reason. And in terms of why we're doing it now, it's because we want to adopt a new local plan by 2020, and it takes a few years to prepare it. So that's what our local plan is and why we're doing the review now. In terms of, again, probably the biggest or the most controversial issue in a local plan, it always comes down to the numbers. How much land do we need to set aside for different types of development? And we've recently had a consultation on the local plan review that you may have seen. It was in the press, and we've run it for 6 weeks. Some of you may have even responded. And in that, we set out some options for how we might take forward the local plan in terms of the amount of land required for housing and for employment in particular. So there's two aspects to that. One is, how much do we need per year? So ranging from 200 houses up to 600 houses, or 2 hectares of employment land up to 6 hectares of employment land. And then, of course, looking how long we want to plan ahead and multiplying that number up accordingly. That's at its basic level, but obviously there's much more to it than that. That's just a basic number. Then we need to think about, well, how do we spread that development around? So again, the consultation covered on that, and we got some feedback from residents and businesses and others who use the borough about how we might take it forward. So to give an example there, Skelmersdale right now, clearly the vast majority of employment land in West Lancashire is in Skelmersdale. Do we carry on with that? Do we keep providing more in Skelmersdale? Or do we look at other places and have more around Ormskirk? One of the other opportunities we might want to look at, for example, is here in Edge Hill University. It's a great university. There may be businesses that want to tap in to the courses and to the kind of linkages that they may have. So do we need to think about land around Ormskirk for some employment? There's all those kind of different mix of opportunities. There's the rural businesses, the agricultural business, the horticultural. It's a big business in West Lancashire. How do we plan for that as well? So how we spread that development around is important as well. But underneath that, those strategic issues, if you like, there's always going to be a range of smaller policy issues on a variety of issues. And in the recent consultation, we had a paper on the economic policy, the environmental policy and the social policy options available to us and how we might take them forward. Obviously, given the audience I've got this morning, I'm focusing on the economic policy options just to let you know the kind of questions we were asking and ultimately to seek your input on them. So we all know that stimulating economic growth is important. Whatever the amount is required in terms of land, the bottom line is we want to stimulate growth. So what type of new employment development do we need and where should it go? You know, how do we manage our existing employment areas to make them even more attractive to new businesses? I touched on the rural economy before. How do we give that opportunity to expand? How do I give it opportunity to diversify in terms of tourism and that kind of thing? Infrastructure is vital. We all know that. We have to have infrastructure to match our development requirements. And there are different proposals already being worked up and thought about. You may have heard about the Skelmersdale rail proposals that we're working with County Council on trying to bring forward a new rail link into Skelmersdale. That, for me, is a game changer for Skelmersdale, opening up to Manchester and to Liverpool direct with regular services. But there is other infrastructure. I was talking to Stefan earlier. Things like water and gas supply, you know, are crucial for some businesses. Broadband provision. We need to understand what businesses need, what residents need, and how we provide it in terms of the new development and create that access. We also looked at town and village centres. I don't know how many kind of retail businesses are here this morning, but there is a need to make sure we have those centres still. That is a place for people to congregate, to come and access services, access shops, and what have you. So we have to look at what kind of land uses are appropriate in those centres, what other locations might be appropriate for those land uses. For example, with retail, there's always a balance between retail in the town centre and retail out of town. Different people wanting different things, and we have to find the right balance on that. So I just wanted to give you a very brief flavour of the local plan and what it might cover and how it might affect you as businesses and how you might be interested. What I really want to do is give a plug in terms of saying I'm here today is to say please come and talk to us. We can only prepare a local plan that meets your needs if we know what they are. So if you have any comments on what the local plan should cover, either as a business or if you live in the borough as a resident, or if you have any particular needs for a new site or new premises, or you're aware of a demand for certain types of premises, again, let us know. All the details about the local plan are on the web address that's there, and we just really want to hear from you. You can contact me direct, but obviously I'm here this morning, so a few of my colleagues, got Neil here, John and Ian as well. So grab any of us afterwards if you have any comments right at this moment in time, but also please feel free to give us some feedback on email or give me a call. That's it. Thank you.